Hi, I'm Alan Alda. In this edition, we're going to use magic to find out how kids see the world. We'll be bouncing babies and watching them walk.
Right. What is this called?
We'll hear that we're born to talk.
What is this called?
Which one do you?
But that we have to learn to deceive.
I have my fingers crossed.
It's great to see you again.
And we'll hear from a girl who's never spoken. Hiya, Carol. Join me now for It's a Kid's World on Scientific American Frontiers.
Presentation of Scientific American Frontiers is made possible by a grant from GTE Corporation. At GTE, it's amazing what we can do together.
There's nothing more miraculous than watching a child grow up. When Isabel was born, pretty much all she could do was lie around waving her arms and feet and eating and looking cute. Now look at her. She's 6 months old. She smiles. She sits. She can reach for toys or my nose. She can follow me with her eyes. Soon she'll be crawling, standing, walking. Next thing you know, she'll be dating and winning the Nobel Prize. Just imagine how abuzz her head must be with all the things going on around her, all the things she's finding out she can do. On this show, we're going to be trying to get inside the heads of kids, from infants to 10-year-olds, to find out how they make the journey from babies to little grown-ups. And we'll be starting with how they figure out one of the basics, how to get their bodies to move just the way they want them to. It's a question that has intrigued scientists for at least 60 years, since this 3-month-old was filmed learning to sit, then 3 months later to crawl, and at 9 months, take his first supported steps. The film was made by psychologist Myrtle McGraw, who in the 1930s did some startling experiments, like dunking a 2-week-old in a pool to see if he could swim. Luckily, he could. Her most famous experiment was with these twins, Jimmy on the left and Johnny on the right. Johnny was given some unusual opportunities. Introduced to roller skates at 13 months, he was soon an expert. Johnny's physical training continued as he grew older, and he outperformed his untrained twin on tests of physical strength and agility. But on the basics, sitting, crawling, walking, Johnny didn't develop any better or more quickly than Jimmy.
Why don't you bring Matthew in? And we want to...
Myrtle McGraw's research inspired generations of psychologists to try to find out how much of a baby's physical development is inborn and how much comes from on-the-job training.
There you go. And we're going to prime the pump a little bit here and see if we can give him the idea that he can bounce in this.
I recently visited one of these psychologists, Harvard's Gene Goldfield, on the day he was meeting 6-month-old Matthew.
Oops.
You're supposed to bounce, not fly.
They don't know what to do in this situation. There are no instructions. There is no instructor. And so what do? Well, you do whatever you have available. And what babies have available is that they can kick and look and listen and feel.
Bounce. Bounce. Now, Matthew certainly isn't genetically programmed to operate a baby bouncer.
And bounce.
And in this first encounter, he didn't discover its secret.
When you step off the edge of the earth like that, it's hard.
On her first try, 6-month-old Eve didn't get very far either. But by the time of my visit 10 days later...
Wait a minute, this is contagious. I like this, you're right.
Eve's feet and legs have now figured out for themselves exactly when and how hard to kick to get the bouncer bouncing. Eve herself is just having fun.
clearly what she's doing is paying attention to the fact that something that she's doing is producing some effect. And it's very motivating.
She discovers video.
Eve's brain isn't figuring out the physics of the bouncer. It's just enjoying the result. Nor have her genes programmed her to bounce. What's happened is that her legs have discovered for themselves just what to do.
That's great, isn't it?
This idea that babies' bodies aren't rigidly pre-programmed, but have to learn for themselves, is at the core of Esther Thalen's research.
I hope the baby's in a good mood, Dexter.
Yeah, I think she will be. Mom said that she's well rested and she's been fed, so she should be in pretty good shape.
Not many research laboratories are able to travel to the subjects they study rather than the other way around.
Hi. Fine. Come on out. How's the baby?
She's doing great.
Good. Let's take her out to the van.
All of Esther Thalen's research is designed to catch babies in the act of acquiring some new skill, and then to try and figure out how the babies did it.
So she's really not able to move both feet together.
Her newest research project is on how babies learn to control their kicking, while they're still getting used to the idea that they have legs.
Hi.
Back in her lab at the University of Indiana, she's already spent several years exploring how babies begin to use their arms.
Ready?
Ready? Go.
Madeline.
Baby Madeline, only 3 months old, hasn't yet quite got the idea that arms can be used for reaching.
You can see the interest in their eyes. The problem is, how do they get their arms to do it? Here they have these 2 springy things hanging off of their shoulders, and their problem is how to get, first of all, just the right amount of muscle contraction to get their hands up, and then they have to also calibrate the space. They have to know where the object is.
What Esther wants to know is how the babies are doing all this, so that Catherine, for instance, only 5 weeks older than Madeline, now has reaching down to a fine art.
There you go. Good. You got it.
Esther videotapes the babies.
Flap his arms up and down. It's waiting for the toy.
Then, from 2 different angles, she can follow exactly how the baby goes about reaching. In slow motion, 4-month-old Gabriel seems to be flailing around almost at random. Here's the route his hand takes before he finally gets the toy. But 7 months later, Gabriel reaches out confidently, and his hand moves smoothly to its goal.
Here it is.
So while all babies finish up reaching in the same way,
Good.
they each get there by their own often circuitous route, suggesting to Esther Thalen that how to reach isn't simply programmed in our genes.
Good girl.
And neither is walking.
When a baby takes his or her first step, it looks as though the behavior just suddenly appeared. But actually, the baby has been working on that problem for a year beforehand. So we want to start way before babies walk and try and track the components that go into walking.
He's very excited about it.
7-month-old Eli is still a long way from walking.
And see your legs.
But Esther wants to know if the muscles in his legs are already getting prepared.
I'm now putting on these little sensors that will pick up and amplify the very small electrical changes in his muscles as he contracts them. And this is really the same as having an EKG. If I put these, in fact, on his chest, I would get heartbeat. But I'm going to get muscle contraction, and these are the little amplifiers.
Good job, Eli.
Okay. Yeah.
So that a computer will be able to track exactly how his legs move. Eli is also fitted out with stick-on reflectors.
Here's the chance. Here's
Like
the
all
chance.
babies, when he was born, Eli would step when held
There's
upright.
Mama. Tell me
Usually assumed to be some sort of primitive reflex, the behavior soon disappears. But once Eli is placed on the treadmill, the stepping behavior comes back. So one key component of walking, stepping, does seem to be inborn.
Good stepping. I think it probably is built in to children from the start. And the stretch of the leg on the treadmill is enough to start that alternating process going.
Oh, look at you.
But there's more to walking than stepping, as 1-year-old Saber is finding out. When her weight is supported and she doesn't have to balance, she walks on the treadmill just fine.
Step right off that treadmill.
And when her walk is analyzed by computer, she has a steady rhythmic gait. The signals from her leg muscles show that they're smoothly coordinated as they produce each step.
Got the ball for you.
But now Saber has a tougher test. Her balance is still assisted by having her hang onto a cart. But this time, her legs have to hold her up as well as walk along. And now her gait is much more clumsy. What's more, her leg muscles have lost their regular rhythm.
Get Mommy. Then we'll go home and see John and Kristen, okay?
Finally, Saber is on her own. Having to both bear her weight and to balance overwhelms the neatly organized stepping action she could make when supported.
Very small steps.
Esther Thalen and her colleagues are just beginning to figure out what's going on as a baby learns to walk. But already it's clear that while stepping may be built in, babies' legs have to figure out for themselves how to stand and balance before they can rediscover the skill they were born with.
Good job.
Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, are you guys ready to see a magic show?
My enthusiastic young companions are about to bake a cake.
Quietly raise their hand to give me a good ingredient for our cake. Flour, sure, throw some flour in there. Oh, wait, great, thank you very much.
And it's, of course, a magic cake.
2, and wait a second, 3, oh, gee whiz, Oh.
It came from nowhere. Then there's the even more awesome magic bag.
We're gonna put it into the magic bag. Now, on the count of 3. What's the magic word again? And there you go, let's hear it, everybody.
How did that happen?
Excuse me, would you help me, sir?
Me?
Yeah, sure, can you help me with this? You know, right? Yeah, sure, come on, help me with it.
Now what's
Come on
happened?
over here, step right up over here.
There's this big man going up on stage.
Stay right here.
Now they're putting the magician in the box. They're really sealing him in tight.
Now, you're going to hold the magic curtain.
Hold this.
Wave the magic curtain.
Wait, like that?
Yep. Now, wave the magic curtain and raise it up above your head.
Is that high enough?
A little higher up above your head.
How's that?
Wonderful.
There you go.
Liam the magician is also a Harvard psychologist. After his shows, he asks kids from the audience to explain what they've seen.
I see.
How does 7-year-old Dana think the magician got out of the box?
I don't know.
Was it, you think that anybody could do that?
No.
Just him?
Yep.
What makes him able to do it?
Because he's magic.
He's magic? No, wait a minute. What about Daniel is 3. Why would the balloon change into the bird?
Because that's magic.
That's magic.
Oh, it is, huh? That's pretty neat.
Magic. For psychologists, it's a perfect way to explore the young and developing mind.
That's a blue.
At the University of Illinois, psychologist Carl Rosengren is finding out where this idea of magic comes from in the first place.
There's that red book.
Parents are asked to watch a videotaped magic show with their children,
They have magic
while
fingers.
Carl watches them watching.
What's Dean gonna do with this now?
His basic conclusion?
Where's it gonna go?
Parents provide special explanations for extraordinary people and events.
Look! He changed them, didn't he? He did magic again.
Parents do sort of build up all of these stories about fantastic people, people that can do all sorts of things, tooth fairies, Santa Claus, magicians, who have special powers that differentiate themselves from other individuals in our culture. And without the parents sort of providing some support for that, it's unlikely that the child is going to come up with these kinds of explanations entirely on their own.
But there's more to magic than just parental suggestion. Kids have to be ready to believe.
He didn't get small, he's still big.
This experiment uses an impressive-looking machine to change the size of things.
This is a special kind of machine. This machine's going to try to make Terry small. Do you think the machine can make Terry small? No? I'm going to put Terry right here. And then we'll see if we can make the room in Terry small, okay? Let's say bye-bye to Terry. Bye-bye, Terry. Okay, let's go back in the other room.
To add atmosphere, electronic sounds are played.
Do you think the room's going to be bigger, or do you think it's going to be small? Small. Shall we go see it? Okay, let's go see it.
Come on.
Okay.
Come on, Dad. Let's go find Terry.
Can you find Terry? Where's Terry? He was in the room. Look in the middle. Is there Terry? You see Terry?
There he is.
Far from being amazed at this magic event, 3-year-old Andrew goes straight to the shrunken room as if nothing had happened.
Do you think the machine made it small? To them, this is a machine just like a TV or a VCR that can be remotely controlled, or like a remote garage door opener. And it's a new machine that can do this thing, and they might be surprised the first time, but very quickly they sort of accept this as something within the realm of possibility.
Let's see it.
Consistently, 3- and 4-year-olds accept that the machine changes the size of the room. They have not yet had enough experience with the world to know that such a thing is not only novel, but probably not even possible.
Let's go find Terry. Let's go find Terry. Where's Terry? There he is. It made it big. One of the important things that children must learn is what kinds of things are typical or possible in the world. And until the child sort of differentiates those things that are possible from those things that are not, in a sense, there's no room for magic.
Just down the hall from Carl, Renee Bayarjon is finding out when that sense of the possible begins to develop.
Let's see, Kim, will you be...
Renee's group puts on magic shows for babies, with results that have astonished her colleagues around the world. Each show tests whether babies know some basic physical rule, that objects can't just disappear, for example.
If babies have the knowledge, they will be puzzled or surprised or intrigued by our magical events. And we know when babies are surprised or puzzled, they tend to scrutinize the events, to look and look and look at them. And so what we do in our experiments is compare infants' responses to magical events and non-magical or real events to see whether they look longer at the magical than at the real ones.
As Holly's attention is captured, a hidden observer starts the timer. This time, it's a non-magical, normal event. The 3-month-old is soon bored. She looks away, and the clock is stopped. Now for the impossible or magical event. Holly stares. She really scrutinizes the event. That means she's surprised. Even at 3 months, she knows the world doesn't work this way. Backstage, there's a simple explanation. 2 dolls moved independently. But Holly is riveted. and even startled by such an illogical sight. Over many trials, 3-month-olds have been consistently surprised by the disappearing doll trick. They all seem to understand it's not possible. But take a look at the next result. Babies like Felix, who were just 2 weeks older, were not surprised. Renee concluded that their worldview was more sophisticated.
These babies spontaneously came to the conclusion that we were using two different objects, two minis, to produce the event. And so what we did to test this interpretation was to lower the screen at the start of each event. We say, no, this is not what's going on here.
Okay, he thinks, I see they've got just one doll up there. But unknown to Felix, when the arch is raised, the second doll is slipped back in. And once again, these slightly older babies were back to being surprised, which seems to confirm Renee's conclusion that they had figured out the original trick. In the box experiment, Renee's been testing what babies know about falling. 3-month-olds like Holly don't find the non-magical event interesting. They soon look away. But in the magical variation, that's much more interesting, really worth staring at. So it seems that by 3 months, babies have learned that unsupported things should fall. But once again, there was a twist to the story. Slightly older babies usually weren't upset when the box just hung in midair. Now it was the researchers' turn to be surprised.
We were very, very puzzled by that result. And it actually took us weeks and months of thinking through what could be going on and trying all kinds of different hypotheses until finally one day we came to this idea that, my goodness, what if they thought that somehow the finger, which was the only thing in contact with the box, had become attached to it? And that's why they weren't surprised. They were generating an explanation, in this case an incorrect one, but a sort of relatively plausible one for the box's failure to fall.
To test this explanation, they changed the trick so that the finger lost contact with the box. And sure enough, the babies were once again startled by the sight.
It is absolutely remarkable that such little babies, when shown our surprising events, are actively thinking about what we show them and actively searching for and finding explanations for what they see. I think it really gives us a fascinating insight into what babies are doing when they look at the world around them.
Thank you.
So if babies can be so logical, how can kids believe in magic? The answer seems to be that around the age of 5 or 6, there are still gaps in children's knowledge of the physical world.
We'll get you out of there in 1 second.
They're prepared to fill those gaps with a sort of catch-all explanation.
He is in there.
It must be magic. But by age 7, a firm sense of reality has set in. How did I get into the box?
There was a hole over here. You opened it.
Yeah?
Because there was a hole.
A hole in the box.
A hole in the box.
I saw that trick before, but I forget how it's done.
Oh, it's a trick.
I know how.
Wow.
When you waved it up, he must have opened the box and you switched places.
In fact, it's not until we're much older that we allow ourselves to suspend our hard-won beliefs.
Ryan, your underwear came off! His underwear
and just enjoy the show.
I'm sorry,
Do you know what this thing's called? It's called a wug.
3-year-old Peter is learning a new word. So, for that matter, am I.
I've got another one. I've got... What is this
Our
called?
teacher is Stephen Pinker, a psychologist who believes children have an instinct for language.
I've got 2. That's right.
Good. It's kids' astonishing ability to soak up language that's led Pinker to conclude we must be born with its building blocks already in our heads.
It's called a toma. Can you say toma? No. That's a hard one? Can you say toe?
Toe.
Can you say ma?
Ma.
Can you say toma?
Toma.
Oh, you can say it. I knew you could say it.
Pinker and his colleagues at MIT have taught nonsense words to hundreds of kids to see if they'll apply the same rules of grammar to made-up words as they do to real ones.
And if that's a toma, I have 2.
Tomas.
That's exactly what I've got. Human language is very, very special. It's not like most of the mechanical language devices that we have, such as our...
Let's try another one.
Our friend over here. Now, he's got programmed into him a few dozen canned sentences, and he just blurts them out verbatim. But people, including kids, aren't like that. We don't have whole sentences prefabricated in our brains. We put them together on the fly. So I could tell you, giant 30-foot purple gerbils are attacking Boston.
Yeah.
I can tell you that Michael Jackson married Elvis's daughter.
Right.
Brand new things you had no way of expecting.
All of these incredible things.
All of these amazing things.
Yeah, and somehow I'd understand what you were saying.
And you can understand what I'm saying. And the reason we can do it is we've got like grammatical rules in our head. Not the kind of rules that your school marm tried to drill into you about split infinitives, but things that allow you to string words together, assemble words out of bits of words to convey brand new thoughts. Now, Alan's going to show you this one.
The wugs and tomas show how quickly kids pick up the rule for making plurals.
Do you know that guy?
Cookie Monster.
Okay, now we're going to teach you how to chan.
Okay, here's how you chan. Kids also quickly learn grammatical rules for verbs. Listen for Erin's past tense of to chan. What did I just do?
Chan, Cookie Monster.
Simply from listening to the conversations going on around her.
That's how you pell. Okay, now I want you to
Erin has learned how to make the past tense of verbs by applying another rule of English, add an ED.
Do you like doing that? What did you just do?
I held Big Bird.
You did. If you asked a kid what they're doing, they couldn't tell you this, but it's sort of what's going on in the background of their mind. Then, whenever they hear a new word, to pell, and they've got to talk about what happened in the past, they can say pelled, even though they've obviously never heard anyone say pelled.
Now, is that how you know that they've somehow internalized a rule, that they can take a brand new word and put it in the past tense by adding this ED, which they know is the way you do it?
Exactly. If they just said stayed, played, talked, swallowed, we'd have no way of knowing whether they put it together on the fly using a rule or whether they just wrote and memorized it from their parents. But if they can say things like pelled or channed, or for the plural, if they can talk about 2 wugs or 2 tomas, since they've never heard wugs, we know that. We taught it to them there and then. We know they have to have put it together on the fly. These lights.
Steve Pinker's favorite example of how well children pick up the rules of language comes when they make mistakes, using a rule where they shouldn't. The earmuffs prevent the lion from hearing.
Can't see either.
So only Erin hears my story. So he decides to go for a walk. He walks outside, and he finds a pad and a pencil in the street. So he picks up the pencil, and he decides to draw a picture of a car. And he walks over to Elmo's house, and he gives the picture to Elmo. And Elmo says, "Great! I love pictures. I'm going to give this to a friend of mine." So he walks over to Alan's house, and he sticks the picture on Alan's head. That's the story. Telling the lion the story requires putting it in the past tense. Listen for how Erin handles the irregular verbs.
And so he drew a picture of a car, and he gave it to, and he said, "What a nice picture! I think I'm going to give it to Elmo." And so he walked to Elmo's house and gave it to Elmo, and then Elmo said, "I know who needs a picture like this," and they then Elma walked over and sticked it on Alan's head.
That's very good. That's another way that we know that they're not just memorizing words, that they are, right from the beginning, sort of abstracting out these rules and applying them to new forms. Because if they're saying bringed, they obviously haven't heard Mom and Dad say bringed. Mom and Dad say brought. Yeah. But at that moment, the child is trying to use bring in the past tense. Brought isn't coming to mind fast enough. If they're at the age where they know add ed to form a past tense, then
even though they've heard brought, they'll say bringed because the rule is sort of powerful to them.
Yeah. Well, I think the rule is there to fill in the gap whenever the past tense doesn't come to mind quickly enough. They go around and around.
So firmly and so naturally do children grasp the rules of language that Pinker is convinced that our brains are built with language in mind.
What did the airplane just do?
Why?
Yeah?
Humans, he believes, are born with an instinct for language, an instinct that carries us through, even when a particular language's annoying little details still have to be learned.
I just tried it.
That's right. Obviously, no language is innate. Take any kid from any race, bring them up in any culture, and they will learn the language equally quickly.
Yeah.
So no particular language is in the genes. But what might be in the genes is the ability to acquire language. You say that?
Toma.
Yeah. So it's not any particular language, but it's the bits and pieces that language is built out of that I think they're born with. Can you tell me what I have on this table?
2 Tomas.
That's right.
All parents know that preschoolers have some very odd ideas.
Tonight, this will glow in the dark, Emma.
Not, as we've already seen, about how the world works, but about what they and others think.
I'm not drawing a picture of a TV.
In fact, even parents don't realize what a very strange mental world little kids inhabit.
All right, you know what?
This is University of Toronto psychologist Philip Zalazzo about to play a card game with 3-year-old Jonathan. The object of the game is to see if Jonathan can sort the cards using a simple rule.
And in the shape game, if I show you a boat like this, I want you to put it into this box. But if I show you a rabbit like this one, I want you to put it over here. Look, here's a red boat. Which box does that go in? Okay. Boats go here, rabbits go there in the shape game. Look, here is a blue rabbit. Which box does that go in?
In here.
Okay. Let's do it one more time, okay? And then we'll play a new game. If it's a boat, it goes here, but rabbits have to go in that box.
Jonathan's got this game all figured out.
Rabbit.
But now Phil changes the rules.
Okay. All right, now, you know what? We're going to play a new game. We're not going to play the shape game. We're going to play the color game. In the color game, if I show you a blue one, you have to put it in this box. But if I show you a red one like that, then I want you to put it over here, okay?
Okay.
All right, look at this. Here's a red boat. Which box does that go in the color game? Okay, now you know what? Can you show me where do the blue ones go in the color game?
In here.
And where do the red ones go?
In here.
So what about this blue rabbit? Which box does that go in?
In here.
Even though Jonathan has just repeated the rules for the new color game, he keeps playing by the rules of the old shape game. Now, the obvious explanation is that it's easier to sort by shape than color. So, with Libby, Phil started with the color game, which she plays just fine.
Okay.
Now, Phil switches to the shape game.
Can you show me where do the boats go in the shape game? And where do the rabbits go? Look, here's a red boat. Where does that go in the shape game?
Libby, just like Jonathan and all the 3-year-olds Phil Zalazzo has tested, seems to get stuck on the first rule she learns. It's as if the 3-year-old mind somehow doesn't know what it knows.
We're gonna have snack now. What have you got in your...
Nothing demonstrates that better than a simple but startling experiment Janet Astington, also at the University of Toronto, does with 3-year-olds like Jacob and a juice box.
What's in the box?
Juice.
at that. What are they?
Jacob calls the ribbons ropes, which is fine because it's the next question that counts.
What did you think was inside the box before I turned it over?
Ropes.
Ropes. It's surprising when you think, well, surely they can remember. You know, if they just said juice a moment ago, it's really surprising when they say that they thought that there were ribbons in there. And you realize that they just don't think about the world in the same way that we do. Okay. Sorry, Jacob.
Not only is Jacob now convinced he always thought there were ropes in the box, he also believes if he thinks something, so must everyone else.
Jessie hasn't seen inside this box. What would Jessie think is inside before I turn it over?
Ropes.
The innocence of the 3-year-old mind is both wonderful and a little spooky. And it's led Toronto's Tom Keenan and David Olson to play an elaborate game to find out if young children understand deception. One of the players is 3-year-old Ross.
So, this is John, and this is his big sister Katie, and that's John's mother, John and Katie's mother. And I want you to pretend that they're real people, just like you and me, okay? Now look at John. John has big feet, and Katie has little feet. Now watch what happens when they walk through the flower. They make footprints. Okay. Do you see the footprints they make? Now, can you tell me which footprints are John's footprints? Which ones did he make? That's right, those are John's footprints. Okay, now can you point to Katie's footprints? Which ones did Katie make? Very good. Okay, now, what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you a little story about Katie and John. I just have to take their shoes off.
The story takes place in the family's kitchen. Mom spilled flour all over the floor while baking the muffins that John and Katie now can't wait to eat.
So they ask Mom if they can have some muffins. But Mom says, you can't have muffins right now. Dinner's almost ready. So Katie and John go back to their bedroom. Now, Mom hears the phone ring. So she goes downstairs to answer the phone. And when she's downstairs, she can't see us and she can't hear us, okay? Okay, now, you know what Katie does? Katie decides she's going to take some muffins. So here comes Katie. But before she takes the muffins, she puts on John's great big shoes.
Tom spells out for Ross exactly why Katie switches shoes.
So here goes Katie. She put on John's shoes, so she'll leave big footprints in the flour, and so that the mom will think John took the muffins. Okay? So here she goes. Now Katie grabs the muffins, and she eats them all up. Now, Katie hears her mother coming back, so she runs off to the bedroom. And here comes Mom. Now Mom sees that the muffins are all gone. And Mom also sees the big footprints in the flour. Now, can you tell me who ate the muffins? Which one ate the muffins? Was it Katie or was it John?
Katie.
Right. Did Mom see Katie eat the muffins? No, she didn't, did she? Okay, now are there big or little footprints in the flour? Are those the big ones or the little ones?
Big ones.
They're the big ones, okay.
So they're John's.
Okay, so who will Mom think ate the muffins? Will she think it was Katie or will she think it was John?
Katie.
Okay.
Despite apparently following the logic of the story every step of the way, Ross still can't see that Mom doesn't know what he knows. This belief that thoughts in your head are somehow public knowledge, that what you think everyone thinks, is almost the definition of childish innocence. Watch this wonderful example with psychologist Joan Peskin and 3-year-old Jacob.
You're going to choose one of the stickers, and he's going to choose one of the stickers. But he always chooses first, and he always wants the one that you really want. He doesn't care if you're sad. Let's put Monkey into another room so that he doesn't know which sticker you really want. Okay. You tell me, which sticker do you really like? Which sticker do you not want? Okay, now I'm going to bring back Mean Monkey, and he's going to choose first. Remember, he always wants the sticker that you really want. He doesn't care if you're sad. So think of what you can do or say so that he doesn't get the one that you really want. Here comes Mean Monkey. Which sticker am I going to choose? Jacob, which sticker do you really want? Oh, well then I'm going to take that one. So you get to take this one.
Joan repeats the experiment several times with each child, giving them ample opportunity to deceive the monkey as to what they really want.
Okay, tell me which sticker you really like. That one. And which sticker do you not want? That one. Okay. Jacob, which sticker are you going to take? Well, then I'm going to take that one. And you
Bravely accepting, 3-year-old Jacob never figures out that the monkey can be fooled. But what about Patrick, 18 months older, and already with a knowing gleam in his eyes?
So that he doesn't know which sticker you really want, okay? Which one do you really like? Point to which one you really like. That one. And which sticker do you really not want? Which is a yucky sticker? That one. Okay. We'll leave those stickers there, and I'm going to bring in Mean Monkey. Let me see which one I want. Patrick, which one do you really like? Oh, well then I'm going to take that one, and you get to have that one.
I had my fingers crossed.
Patrick has also crossed a threshold into the adult world. He's now old enough to know that he can think things that others don't, that his thoughts are his alone.
From about 4.5 to 5, they suddenly and rapidly get that knowledge. They begin to think about other people's thoughts. They begin to think that somebody can think something different from what they know, that people's thoughts vary, are private, may be incorrect. People can have false thoughts about something that they know to be true.
Once you understand that, then you can explain all sorts of things about why people do things which seem strange to you. They're looking for things, and you know that that's not where they are. It also means then that you can understand how to surprise people, how to trick people, because once you've made this split between the mind and the world, then you can think about people's minds and manipulate the way the world is so that they come to believe certain things about it.
Teachers, parents, and grandparents are endlessly trying to fathom the minds of the very young. It's no wonder we find it so fascinating and so frustrating. They really are not like us at all. Our final story is about how Kara Johansson came to make a telephone call to her sister Melly. An ordinary event made extraordinary by the fact that Kara, born with cerebral palsy, has never talked. I first met Kara 18 months ago. Her mother, Pam Johansson, spoke aloud what Kara had to say by reading the letters Kara looked at on a plastic alphabet board.
A and D and K and S, O and someone. Someone says it.
I appreciated Pam Johansson's skill at translating for Kara even better when I tried it myself.
What was the play about? S? E? W? No. X? Sex? No. Sassy. Wait a minute. Well, that's the letter I saw.
Kara's family and close friends are almost as skilled as Pam Johansson at using the board. The communication it allows is central to the bond that exists between Kara and her sister Melly.
Go. G, R. Kara and I are really close.
And we've been that way ever since she was little. And a lot of times people categorize her, she can't do this, she can't go on a roller coaster, she can't go off a diving board. And that's never been a barrier between us because she's done all of that. And that's what keeps us together most of the time because we've overcome so much together. I don't want to do this.
But 2 years ago, Melly started boarding school. And now sisterly chats are much more difficult.
It's hard for us to communicate. It has to be over a phone, and there needs to be a person communicating with Kara just to be able to tell me what she's saying. And if there was a way that I could talk to her directly, it would be perfect.
No one better appreciates Kara's need to talk directly than the person who has always been her principal voice, her mother.
Kara loves Melly and Melly loves Kara, and Kara would love to privately talk with her sister without any other person there, without an adult, without a mother there to censor what was being said. She just loved to communicate with Melly on her own very privately and talk their secret stuff that they have to share.
Yes.
Ricky Razdan is co-founder of iScan, a company that builds devices mainly for the military and advertising companies that can tell where people are looking.
So you can see an image of my eye up there, my pupil, and a reflection off of my cornea. That's the bright spot. And Al's going to turn on a couple of functions, and we're going to be tracking my pupil movement. So as I look left and right and up and down, you should see the crosshair moving with my pupil.
In the spring of 1994, Howard Shane and his colleagues at Children's Hospital in Boston began working with iScan to see if tracking her eyes could give Kara an independent voice.
Kara, all we're doing now is just experimenting, and you have to have an open what? You know the next word? Open what?
M-I-N-D.
Great. Just let us try some things out, okay?
Okay, just keep it back.
Howard Shane first met Kara when she was 3, and he knows her to have very definite opinions.
Yeah, that's good.
Frame of this.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
She especially dislikes things on her head. And in this case, who can blame her?
It's... it's too... B-U-L-K, it's too bulky?
Kara tolerates the headgear long enough for the researchers to confirm that her gaze is steady enough to be tracked. But this first session also confirms Kara's opinion of things on her head.
It's sliding down over her eyes.
Just use your eyes and follow my finger.
So another option is explored.
Comfortable now?
If her head could somehow be steadied, then perhaps the eye tracking system could simply be mounted in front of her instead of on a headband.
Her eye control is really good. It's what we thought, but we weren't sure. And I think that kind of head stability, no problem, you know.
Over the spring and summer of 1994, Kara and Pam Johansson made many visits to Children's.
Did you make a wish?
Work on the new system was going slowly.
Second wish coming up.
Pam Johansson was acutely aware that Kara's need for independent communication was becoming more urgent.
Got that wish down? Okay. Make a third wish.
Pam Johansson had begun to lose her own battle with cancer. She died on October 21st.
It's been a while since you've seen each other.
3 months later, accompanied by her father, Kara was back at Children's.
Finally, Kara, after working so many months, we finally got a mechanism to keep your head nice and stable for the eye tracking system. Okay, now let me get it just right.
The helmet might seem an odd device for someone who hates things on her head, but by holding her head steady, it freed Kara from having a camera system dangled in front of her face. Now the camera is mounted in front of her. From alongside it, an invisible infrared beam shines at her eye. The system tracks her eye with the help of 2 crosshairs, one centered on her pupil, the other on the reflection of the infrared beam. By comparing the position of the 2 crosshairs, a computer can tell precisely where her eye is pointed. The system is calibrated by having Kara look at numbered squares on a screen.
10.
When her eye fixes on a square, it lights up.
11.
Once the device knows exactly where on the screen she's looking,
That's good.
Then the numbered squares can be replaced by letters of the alphabet.
If you don't think it's right there, just look around that area until it highlights.
Or by phrases that can be spoken aloud by a voice synthesizer.
It's great to see you again.
Hey, what a nice reception. Hiya, Kara. It's great to see you again, too.
Kara had prepared several phrases in anticipation of my visit, including a reminder of the first time we met.
I haven't done any more plays about sex.
Have you been spending a lot of time trying to get this machine to work right?
Yes.
How's it been going with school? You managed to get your schoolwork done while you're doing all of this?
I made the honor roll.
That's wonderful. Would it be okay if I try this?
Yes.
I got to try out the test version of what might eventually become an alphabet board like the one Kara uses now. But this one could be linked to a word processor that would allow her to write, plus a voice synthesizer that could read aloud what she had written.
Hello, Dr. Watson.
But getting the letters to turn red could sometimes be frustratingly difficult. I can sort of guess what problems Kara must have, because when I look at a letter and I'm just maybe slightly out of calibration,
Right.
and I almost get it to turn red,
Right.
but it doesn't quite. I can feel myself starting to strain, starting to try to will it to register my gaze, and that I tense up. If the system can be fine-tuned to Kara's special needs, it can also be adapted to others. What do you think this will lead to? What do you see as the future of this whole method?
For Kara and for others, I see this as a way for people with severe motor impairments to be able to write, to be able to communicate, to be able to control computers. I think that the potential is unlimited.
She could even control other devices, maybe, huh? Not just computers. I mean,
Well,
through
sure.
a computer, anything else.
Oh, sure. She'll be able to dial the telephone. I mean, that's kind of an agreement, a tacit agreement that Kara and I have, that she's going to be able to make a telephone call. That's the deal we made. That's what got her back into thinking.
I hear her perking up. She's ready to be a telephone hound, right?
Yes, she is.
In January 1995, almost a year after work on the eye tracking system began, Melly Johansson, away at her boarding school in Maine, received a telephone call from her sister.
Hello?
What? Hi, Millie. It's Kara.
Hi, Kara.
I'm using the iScan computer system for this phone conversation.
That's good. Do you like it?
Yes.
Did you have fun in school today?
No.
Why not? Because it was a Friday and you had to go?
When you played basketball, did you win?
Of course not. We never win.
I scored 8 points, and the other 8 points I assisted. So,
Kara, how's school going?
Good, but very stressful.
you excited about coming up next weekend?
Yes.
Good. I'm really excited about you coming up too.
Okay, kiddo, I gotta go because I have basketball.
This was the first time that Melly and Kara had ever talked by phone without someone else, usually her mother, speaking for Kara.
Come up, okay?
Of course, this conversation was hardly private or spontaneous, but in spelling out her final message, Kara was taking the first step toward the independent voice her mother had so wished for her.
I love you, Millie.
I love you. Bye-bye.
Presentation of Scientific American Frontiers is made possible by a grant from GTE Corporation. At GTE, it's amazing what we can do together.
For a transcript of this program, send $5 to Scientific American Frontiers, 70 Coolidge Hill Road, Watertown, Massachusetts, 02172. Be sure to specify which episode you'd like.
This is PBS.